Welcome to Dodgers Dogs. I'm Casey Porter. I'm so glad you've decided to tune in, joined by Chase Witwiska, as I am each and every week. Chase, we have a busy show tonight. We're going to break down Jonny Deluca. He was just added to the 40-man, one of the most talented outfielders in the organization, one of the most talented players in the organization, just added to the 40-man this year to protect him for the Rule 5 draft. But we're going to start off with our Dodgers talk like we do each and every week, and the big topic this week is Andrew Friedman. He came out and said that most likely, at least to begin, Gavin Lux is going to be the shortstop. Miguel Vargas could be the second baseman. Muncy in left, Chris Taylor in left. You could also put Michael Busch in left, Miguel Vargas in left, which puts Michael Busch at second. A whole bunch of opportunities, but that was pretty big news that he came out and said that.
Yeah, it absolutely is, and I don't think that either one of us were surprised about it. Mm-hmm. Just by what we've been talking about. But like you said, it opens the door for many other opportunities for other guys. And I think that Gavin Lux as your everyday shortstop is the right way to go.
Yeah, at least to start with, and like we have both seen, and we've been saying this, we've seen Gavin Lux a lot at shortstop. Of course, it was at the minor league level. We did an entire video on it. And I'm just telling you, he's a lot more comfortable there. So it's up to him. There was a reason why in 2019 he was the biggest shortstop prospect in all of the game of baseball. And again, if you would have went into the 2020 season without Corey Seager and you would have turned over the shortstop spot to Gavin Lux then in 2020, Dodgers fans would be super excited about it. So it's Gavin Lux's to lose.
Yep, it absolutely is. And I don't think he's going to lose it.
Yeah, I don't either. In case, so what that does is that opens up the second base spot, and there's several different ways the Dodgers can go with this. It looks like they're leaning towards Muncy at third base, which would put either Miguel Vargas at second or Michael Busch at second, and then that moves Miguel Rojas into the utility role.
Yeah, it absolutely does, and I think that role fits him just fine. He's shown that he can play multiple positions in the infield at a high level. So I don't think that I don't think you should put a limit on where he plays or where he doesn't play. Just let them go play baseball. Let them do what they're good at. And whether that be in their primary position or their secondary, they're going to play at a high level either way.
I also think that adds credibility to the fact that we've talked several times that the Justin Turner role, the biggest role he was going to play was mentoring the Miguel Vargases and the Michael Bushes of the world. And I definitely think, by putting Miguel Rojas in the utility role, here's the value to that. He gets to touch more than just one person. Does that make sense? He gets to touch every position and every player at every position if he's put in that role, at least to begin with. And then you can always, if Gavin Lux doesn't handle it, which I think he will, but if he doesn't, the reason why the Dodgers got Miguel Rojas, the biggest reason, mentorship being one of the biggest reasons, but the biggest reason is insurance. Hey, we have this opportunity to hand this shortstop position over to Gavin Lux, a dynamic, talented, young player. And if Gavin Lux takes this shortstop position and runs with it, great. The Dodgers are set at that position, the most important defensive position other than pitcher and catcher on the field, and the Dodgers will be set for the future, for the upcoming future, So that is the best case scenario. If not, guess what? Yeah.
No, they've set it up perfectly, and I think that like you just said, giving him the opportunity to have that spot and probably feel a little bit more comfortable than it would be if they hadn't come out and said, hey, he's going to be our everyday shortstop for a little bit. I think that you're going to see a little bit more comfort there. He's not going to feel like he's necessarily competing as much for a job, and he's not walking on as thin a ice or anything like that.
Yep, and then the insurance is if Gavin Lux proves that he can't handle it, which neither one of us think is going to happen, but in case that does happen, guess what they do, Chase?
You move Rojas.
Yeah, you have Rojas, a guy who was in the running for a Gold Glove last year, and you move him over to shortstop, and that's your insurance plan. You move Gavin Lux back to second base, then you figure out what to do with Miguel Vargas and or Michael Busch, and you move forward from that perspective. So when you look at the plan we always talk about how the Dodgers front office never leaves any stone unturned. Okay, they knew they needed the mentorship role. They knew they needed offense, so they went and got J.D. Martinez to replace Justin Turner. Okay, and then they also wanted to see if Gavin Lux can win this shortstop spot and solidify that position for the future. But then they also felt like they needed insurance at that position too. And man, they did every single thing that they set out to do. So although a lot of fans, because they didn't sign the big names like the 11-year contracts and stuff, in a lot of ways, this offseason has made the most amount of sense of any in recent years that I can remember in terms of needs.
Yeah, no, it absolutely has. And, you don't just get insurance with Rojas just at shortstop. If say Vargas goes and struggles at second base, depending on what they feel comfortable doing, you could see Gavin Lux move over to second, Rojas take short. You could see Rojas just play second. Say Muncy has his slump like he did at the beginning of last year. You can give Rojas the opportunity to go play third base. There's a lot of good that came out of that trade that maybe people didn't realize right off the bat. But there's a lot of good that came out of it.
Yeah, and then Chris Taylor, probably not going to be the everyday player at one spot. So then I think that's going to open up left field quite a bit. It looks like to me, that left field could be a rotation between maybe Taylor and Outman and Thompson, that three-man rotation for the two spots between center field and left field. And then it's going to open up occasional days for maybe Miguel Vargas, maybe Michael Busch to play that left field as well. So it just seems like to me the Dodgers have been burning the midnight oil trying to figure out how to get insurance for all these people, but still incorporate these young kids into the lineup, and then Gavin Lux back to shortstop, all with an insurance plan behind it.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I really think it's going to come down to who's producing on the offensive side of the ball. Because this goes from any age, really. If you can hit, you're going to play. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. If you can produce at the plate, you're going to play. So in terms of that left field spot, if Michael Busch goes off and it's just doing what we think he can do, he may claim that everyday left field spot. Same thing with, you got Chris Taylor too, who's has experience and has performed really, really well in the past. So you have depth and you have good depth. So.
Yep. I think, if all things go wrong with all the rookies, right? Okay. Which again, we cover these guys pretty substantially. We see them play. I see them play over 100 times a year. I know you see them play probably 50 to 75 times a year. So we have quite a bit of experience up close watching these guys. Worst case scenario, okay? Rojas at short, Gavin Lux at second, Chris Taylor in left, Trace Thompson in center. Worst case scenario. The Dodgers have put together a best case scenario where you can incorporate all the rookies, and then also backed it up with a worst case scenario where you play all the veterans. It's awesome. I love it, man.
I do too. And you say worst case scenario, and I say they're still in the top 10 in terms of lineup in Major League Baseball. So their worst case scenario, they're still going to be in a good spot.
Yeah, and another thing about that second base spot, why either Busch or Vargas, I think, will transition fairly easily. Let's think about this. You have Freddie Freeman at first base, mentoring whoever the second baseman is. And then you have Max Muncy and Miguel Rojas mentoring Gavin Lux or whoever might be, playing on that side of the infield if they move Miguel Vargas to third or whatever. Boy, those are 3 pretty good veterans to lean on, aren't they?
Yeah, they absolutely are. All who have, shown capabilities of being an all-star and all who have really, really performed at a high level, and they've done it for a long time. It's not just, that one hit or 1 year wonder where, they pop off for a year or even 2. These guys have been around for a while, and they continue to produce. So,
yeah, I think your best case scenario is Gavin Lux at shortstop, because again, that solidifies your shortstop position for the future years, and that's being a Gavin Lux that is very good at shortstop. Max Muncy at third, Miguel Vargas and or Michael Busch at second, the other one in left field, James Outman in center. That's your best case scenario in the sense that builds your future. That's the next core of Dodgers to build towards, like the Cody Bellingers and the Corey Seagers and the Will Smiths and the Walker Buehlers and that generation, the Julio Uriases, that generation of Dodger has turned it over to the new generation of Dodgers. So if you can figure out a way to get into the World Series, win a World Series with Miguel Vargas or Michael Busch at second, Lux at shortstop, and either Busch or Vargas in left and Outman in center, you have clearly turned over a new core of Dodgers and into the World Series. That's best case scenario. And again, worst case scenario, if none of that works out, you just throw Trace Thompson in center, Chris Taylor in left, you put Rojas at short, you put Gavin Lux back at second base, and you win a World Series that way too. Now, you're not necessarily building for your future as much in that way, but you have that. That worst case scenario, the best case scenario, and then most likely, Chase, as well as anybody, the best laid plans is probably going to fall somewhere in between.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was just thinking of a question, say Muncy has those offensive struggles that he did at the beginning of last year. Mm-hmm. Do you see Rojas taking over third, or do you see them moving Vargas to third and giving Busch a shot at second?
I think the first thing it would do is move Miguel Vargas to third base. Now, here's the deal. Early in his career, Vargas has grown into a man. When kids are 17, 18, 19 years old, they still have baby fat. They haven't grown into all their athletic ability. How many times do you see a guy, in college and his senior year in high school, and then you see him when they're like a sophomore in college, and you're like, holy cow, they look like a totally different person, right?
Yeah.
So Miguel Vargas has grown. So any scouting report that you've seen on him that says slow-footed, or throw it in the trash can, use it to stoke your fire with, do whatever you want with it, because it's not worth anything. If you see the way he's built his body, if you see the footwork that he has now, he is in no way, matter of fact, I think quickness and speed may be one of his strengths now. So Miguel Vargas definitely, well, if they think he's athletic enough to play second base, he's definitely athletic enough to play third base, correct?
Absolutely.
So I think the go-to would be to put Miguel Vargas at third first and put Michael Busch at second. And again, your insurance plan, Chase, we saw last year with the Dodgers, they won the division by a bunch. It didn't help. They didn't win their first round in the playoffs that they got to play in. So all you got to do with the expanded playoffs is just make it. So I think that gives you a bigger runway to incorporate your rookies.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, that was just something that came to mind, because especially, Rojas is a high quality player, but I also think the same about Busch, and I think the same about Vargas. And I personally, I want to see the young guys play. But Rojas also adds that veteran presence, if you will, that would play a crucial role as well. So
yep, no doubt. And here's, before we get on to our feature cut today, and our feature cut's going to be Jonny Deluca, the just ultra talented outfielder that really came on strong here in 2022. We're going to get to him here in a minute. We're going to break down a lot of video on him. But my last point on this, see what you think from the coaching perspective, Chase. When you have veteran guys like Rojas and Muncy and guys like that, if they're not in the lineup one day, I think they'll be able to handle it mentally better than if you take rookies, like we've seen the Dodgers, like they did with Gavin Lux, like they did with Pepio last year, Andre Jackson, Mitch White, and you don't define their role, and then you give them sporadic playing time, and they show up to the yard every day not knowing what they're going to do that day. I think that affects rookies way more than it would a veteran like Rojas. Yeah,
no, I 100% agree, and you see it with high school guys, even, when that freshman gets his chance to start on varsity, if he knows that nobody, whatever he does today is not going to affect if he plays tomorrow or not, you see him play more loose, you see him have more fun, you see him not press as much, and also, that just leads to better performance. And obviously the same thing happens, in the big leagues. You got those rookies that are put on this big stage that they haven't really gotten to experience much, except for maybe bits and pieces here and there to fill spots. But if you define that role for them, I think that, same thing's going to happen. They're going to play more loose. They're going to have more fun. They're going to be themselves. And being themselves is what got them into the position that they're in right now. So,
fantastic. You ready to talk about Jonny Deluca?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's get to it. And we'll get into all the numbers. We'll get into the video, and we will break down Jonny Deluca on the other side. All right, the first clip that I wanted to show of Jonny Deluca is him running the long jump. And I know as a coach, when you saw this, Chase, this piqued your interest because I know you love players, and there's him at Oregon. We'll get to that here in a minute, why I put that on there. I know you love players that play multiple sports and are just athletes, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And, that's something that the Dodgers do really, really well. If you've watched our show before, we've talked about it many times where, they don't just go after great baseball players, they go after great athletes. And it's obviously benefited them really well. Playing multiple sports and having multiple experiences helps you in so many different ways.
No doubt about it. And because he's such a great athlete, check this out. On July 4th, when he got promoted to Double-A Tulsa, he led the Great Lakes Loons in both home runs and strikeouts, Chase. You don't see that combination very often, do you?
You don't.
Yeah, look at that opposite field power. Now, he does have a pull percentage that is over 50%, which is quite a bit, but you saw that oppo power there. He has, then here's the power up the middle. So he does have the power up the middle and to the opposite field.
Yeah, he's a big, strong guy. He has a lot of pop, and with his pull percentage being 50%, I think you may have seen a decrease in numbers just because of the shift and everything like that. But with that being, no longer a way to do things, I think like a lot of guys, you're going to see their numbers jump. And like I said, he's a guy that has a lot of pop. He's a good athlete. And he's just a really good player.
Yep. His slash line was 260, 347, 541. His OPS was 888. He had 25 home runs on the year here. But here's the deal, okay? He got injured at the beginning of August. On August 2nd, he hit his 25th home run, Chase. And at that time, when he hit his 25th home run on August 2nd, that tied him for the second most of any player. It tied him with Mookie Betts, actually. It tied him with any player in the organization of the second most amount of home runs. I didn't say that right. Let me say that. On August 2nd, he hit his 25th home run, and that tied him for the second most of any player in the entire Dodgers organization.
Yeah, and it's no surprise, man. If you look at his swing, he has almost a picture-perfect swing in my eyes. He has a great, pretty level swing, stays inside the baseball with his hands. And really just lets his back do the work. It doesn't look like he's trying to do much when he's at the plate. Kind of effortless with a lot of pop, and just, like I said, just letting his hands and his barrel, take care of the rest. And I think that's something that's going to definitely play a huge role and help him out big time the further he goes up, because, man, it's you and I know that no matter how hard you try to hit the dang ball, it seems like you always hit it harder when you're not trying to. And he does a really, really good job of that.
And he's super competitive. He's a typical Dodger, just kind of quiet. Whenever you talk to him, just a wonderful young man. He totally fits the culture. He's a Southern California boy, so being a Dodger will be huge to him. He's very familiar. Watch him leg out this double. This was very impressive. Doubles are legged out of the box, but look at that speed.
Yeah, man, and that just goes to show you not only, you just look at him, that's an athlete, without a question in my mind. He can run, he can hit, he can throw it well from the outfield. He can track balls down. He does everything at a high level. And I think
side view, yeah,
it really has something to do with that, other sport experience, in my opinion. That stuff carries over whether people realize it or not. In terms of footwork, speed, different things that you see, different ways you train. There's a lot that goes into it, and man, watching him is a lot of fun.
Yeah, I wanted to rewind to this. How many times do you see a triple hit to left center?
Not often.
Yeah, he hit a double on back-to-back at bats. He hit it, and there's a side view. He hit a double that landed in front of the center fielder, and then he hit a triple to left center.
That's insane.
Yeah, that one tells you that he busts out of the box, right? Doubles are made out of the box. No matter how fast you are, if you don't kick it into gear till halfway to first base, you're not going to hit a whole lot of doubles. So obviously that tells me he busts out of the box, and two, it tells me that he is very, very fast, which he is, and the stolen bases will tell you that. And another thing about him, one of the reasons why I think maybe from a ranking perspective, there's that triple again, that, he's, I don't want to say come out of nowhere, but he's a surprise to a lot of people, is that when he was at Oregon, Chase, he was actually a switch hitter, so he just, when he became a professional, stopped hitting from the left side. And so, as well as I do, whenever, you're trying to do more than one thing, it can be complicated. So since he's become a professional, only a right-handed hitter, and he started adding the power to it, and that's really helped him.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's really impressive, and I think that he's found a lot of confidence in that right-handed swing because, like once you stop swinging from both sides, you get double the reps on whichever side you choose to hit from. And I mean, and clearly it's worked out pretty well for him. And I think that confidence is just, it continues to build every time that, he has a good outcome. And he's the kind of guy, he's quiet, like you said, and just does his job. He's a guy that plays hard. He's a guy that, he does everything that you would want a player in your organization to do.
Yeah. What do you think about the footwork there? Let me rewind it one more time. Okay, go through this play in left field, how he comes through the ball, footwork, throwing. I know you're big on outfield play like this.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at, I mean, even just fielding off the right foot, and fielding it into his crow hop, that's how he's able to get the ball out so quickly and with a heck of a throw too. I mean, that throw is near perfect. Uses the ground. For younger guys that do watch this, please realize that, even major league guys, they use the grass, use the turf, whatever. He's not trying to do too much. He's just trying to put a ball in a spot to where his catcher can make a play.
Yep, no doubt about it. Okay, let me see what you think about this. His ground ball percentage was 44.9% in Tulsa. Now, his numbers were way better once he got moved up to Double-A Tulsa than they were in High-A Great Lakes. That's because he got off to, at least numbers-wise, a slow start with Great Lakes at the beginning of the year. He got very hot towards the end of his stint there with the Loons, but he hit better in Tulsa. Okay, let me see what you think about this. His ground ball percentage in Tulsa, Chase, was 44.9%, which the major league average, which is right around the major league average, about 41, 42% is the major league average, give or take a year or two there. So his ground ball percentage was right on average with the major league average, if not maybe just a touch above. But in Great Lakes, his ground ball average was only 31.8%. So he hit quite a few more ground balls in Tulsa than he did in Great Lakes, but yet his batting average in Tulsa was way higher. What's your take on that?
It's going to be a hot one. Just it's not something that people want to hear, especially with this new version of hitting, which I think is really, really stupid. I'm sorry. You put a ball on the ground, and it is so much harder to field a ground ball than it is a fly ball, and you can say whatever you want, but you're wrong if you think otherwise. I mean, putting a ball on the ground, you have so much better of a chance as to finding a hole or, having a good outcome than you do putting a ball in the air. I see things on social media and all this.
Unless it's a home run.
Yeah, okay, congratulations. The only person that should be able to do that is Aaron Judge right now.
Yeah.
I mean, look at this right here. You put a ball on the ground that's, I mean, it's just a dribbler. Oh, there you go. Now he turns off, he turns in. I mean, it's an error, but he ends up on second base, so who cares, And if he puts the ball in the air, it's a fly out.
Especially with guys that can run like him.
Yeah, there's a big difference, and I'm very passionate about how I feel about this new version of hitting that's killing every single one of my hitters right now. You guys know how I feel about it.
Yep. Okay, well, let me give you a stat to that, okay? All balls that are hit 100 miles an hour or over at the professional level, the batting average on those balls on the ground balls that are hit 100 miles an hour or above, the batting average on those balls is over 500. So, it's not the kind of the deceiving part to that is, there's kind of this battle, do you want to hit ground balls versus fly balls? And that's not the battle. The battle is you need to make hard contact. Contact of any kind, whether it's on the ground or in the air, gets you on base. See, like there's a line drive. Obviously, line drives are the best, but, it doesn't matter if you hit a fly ball or a ground ball. If you hit the ball much over 90 miles an hour, you're going to get on base.
Yeah, absolutely. And with what I'm saying, don't think at all that I don't like line drives, that I don't like home runs. They're just not as, I mean, line drives are, but home runs and fly balls are not near as efficient as ground balls are. I'd rather have a guy, if he's not hitting a line drive, I'd rather have him hit a ground ball.
No doubt.
I mean, you grow up at 3 years old learning how to catch a fly ball. You also grow up at 3 years old trying to catch a ground ball, but it's not coming at you at 90 plus miles an hour. So
So the home run per fly ball rate for Jonny Deluca was 22.6 in Tulsa. 15% to 20%, of all the fly balls you hit becoming home runs. Here's your stat. Okay, so of all the fly balls hit, an average major league hitter, about 15 to 20% of those are going to turn into home runs. At Tulsa, 22.6. So over the major league average of Jonny Deluca's fly balls turned into home runs, which tells you that he was hitting the ball hard.
Yeah, and I think that has a lot to do with how. I really, really like his swing. Just a real level swing. He lets the bat do the work. He finds the sweet spot of the bat, keeps the hands inside. That piece right there is it's something that you would want to see anytime that I open my phone up. That swing is phenomenal. And that also goes to show you how big and strong that guy is. He doesn't have to put a lot of effort in it to hit it out of the ballpark.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Okay, so the goal for every hitter is obviously to hit a line drive, and his line driving percentage was 20.2%, which is right on the major league average. So his home run for fly ball rate in Tulsa was higher than the major league average. His line drive percentage in Tulsa was right at the major league average. That's why he was so good once he got to Tulsa. He was the Midwest Player of the Week, his last week with Great Lakes. Now check out this run he went on towards the end of June, beginning of July. He went 9 for 16 in his last 4 games at Great Lakes with 6 doubles, 7 RBIs, and 15 total bases. There you see him doing the long jump. He won the Southern Sectionals his junior year there in high school. Okay, so his last week with Great Lakes, he went 9 for 16 in his last 4 games with 6 doubles, 7 RBIs, 15 total bases. Then when he got to Tulsa, he started with Tulsa going 8 for his first 23. So at that point, between his last 4 games at Great Lakes and then his first handful of games in Tulsa, Chase, he had went 17 for 39, which is a 435 average in his last 9 games. He also hit a walk-off on July 30th and almost hit for the cycle on July 6th, and he had 10 multi-hit games between the beginning of July and August 2nd when he got hurt. Wow, yeah, that's quite a stretch.
Talk about getting hot at the right time, man. Just a super impressive stat line. And apparently he really likes that month of July.
Yep.
And that's, and in my opinion, that's a really, really good time to get hot, because you're getting close to the postseason and you're starting to turn some heads and things like that. It's a great time to, like I said, get hot, and man, was he.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And, whenever his numbers didn't look quite as good early in the year for Great Lakes, I talked to his hitting coach there with the Loons, Dylan Ashotka, and he said, and at that time, I think he was hitting like 220, 230 or something like that. And Dylan said, hey, he's making great swing decisions. He's putting a good pass on the baseball. Just wait. Jonny Deluca is getting ready to have a tear here in just a little bit because he's, like I said, he's swinging at the right pitches and he's putting a good swing on him. Just wait, it's going to come around, and boy, did it. Dylan was so correct, so good. Okay, any final thoughts on Deluca before we move on and wrap this thing up?
Man, I think he's just an all-around high-quality player from the offensive side to the defensive side. Just an absolute dude, in my opinion. He busts his tail. Just a guy any organization will be lucky to have in their organization.
No doubt about it. And just a reminder before we wrap up our talk on Jonny Deluca here, again, when he got hurt on August 2nd, he hit his 25th home run. He was tied for second most in home runs of any player in the Dodgers organization. He was tied with Mookie Betts at that point. So that goes to show you just how much power he has. Here you're seeing opposite field power. And he led Great Lakes in stolen bases when he got moved up to Double-A Tulsa. This is a guy that easily could be a 20-20 guy and fringe 30-30 guy if everything fell out right at the major league level. All right, so let's put a bow on this. We talked about, some of the lineup possibilities. We've talked about best case scenarios, worst case scenarios, somewhere in between. Put a button on it, Chase.
Man, it's like I always say, they're in a good situation. That they have a good issue to have. They have veterans to mentor. They have young guys that have shown that they can perform at a really, really high level. And they have guys that are versatile. they have guys that like Vargas, I'll use as an example, can play third base, can play second base, can play the outfield. Same thing with Bush. Bush can play second. Bush can play the outfield. And then you have Rojas, who's a guy that can play all three positions in the infield. So they're really not limited as to what they can do with their lineup if they choose to do something that's a little different from the normal, as you will. I don't think it's going to hurt him very much. And then, man, Deluca's a guy. He's a really, really fun guy to watch.
Your type of player, isn't he?
Yeah, just a dirtbagger. Just gets the job done, plays hard, and does it quietly, which is refreshing.
Yeah. Hey, you had a great idea, and we're about to release this next week. We didn't quite get to it this week. You had the idea, hey, let's message all the players, and let's see who they think is the grittiest, toughest player, and best teammate, and all that kind of together. What you just mentioned, the dirtbag, that reminded me, kind of what you would think of as a dirtbag in baseball terms, that gritty type player. Who are the grittiest players in the system? So we messaged all the players we've ever been in communication with, and like almost 90% of them came back with their choices and with comments. So, hey, we are going to reveal on our next show next week the All Dodgers Daily All Grit team, and it's all nominated by the players. It has nothing to do with our opinion. We're going to release that next week, and you're going to find out who the 15 grittiest players in the entire Dodgers minor league system is. Pretty cool, huh?
That's exciting. And, just for you guys that, have heard this, man, it is such a big deal for other guys that you play with to think that about you. It's a huge honor. It's shown that you've earned their respect. It shows, just what kind of guy you are, and how much your teammates enjoy playing with you and being around you. So, it's a really, really big deal. And some of the responses that we got, guys were really excited. They're, hey, give me a little bit to think about it. Let me get back with you. Yeah. It's a big deal. So I'm really excited for this next release.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And one thing that you pointed out that you're right on the money here is, hey, these guys in this Dodgers culture, they were way more excited and had a lot more fun talking about their buddies than they do themselves.
Yeah. And man, that just goes to show you what kind of culture that goes on in the locker room and in the organization itself. Guys want to see other guys succeed. They're all on the same mission to get to the big leagues. They're all on the same mission to, accomplish a lifelong goal, lifelong dream. And when they get to do that with their best friends and their buddies, and then get to give them a minute to be in the spotlight and give them a minute to, be talked about in a high quality manner. I think that they love it and they take advantage of it, and it means something to them.
I think there were close to 25 to 30 players mentioned. We had to pare it down to a top 15. Then we're going to have an honorable mention, and then we're going to list everybody else that got at least one vote. So again, I want to reiterate this list, this Dodgers Daily All Grit team. Okay, this was not made up by us. This is nominated by the players. So this is going to be a whole lot of fun. And on next week's show, I can't wait for it, Chase. I am so excited. It is going to be the reveal of the Dodgers Daily All Grit team, something that we are going to do each and every year from now on. Okay, so we've got a couple minutes left. Any final thoughts?
Man, just talking about that next show's got me really excited. But to focus on the one that we just covered, like I said, Deluca is just a really, really fun guy to watch. High quality player, high quality athlete that can really get the job done on both sides of the ball. And then in terms of the lineup, I'm not sure, necessarily what you're going to see is in terms of, seeing a consistent lineup every day. I think you're going to see different ones. I think you're going to see guys move around. But it just shows that the Dodgers have great baseball players, that they feel comfortable moving in different spots, and just giving the opportunity to the young guys that they deserve, and giving them the resources like Rojas and JD Martinez to give them some mentorship that we lost in Justin Turner, but I think that having two guys mentor is better than one, so I think that they came out on the good end of that.
You know what it makes me think?
What's that?
Spring training is going to be badass. Don't you think?
It's going to be a fun one to watch. That's for sure.
No doubt. Funner. I can't remember a time I've been this excited about watching the position battles at spring training. Can you?
I can't, man. And spring training is more of, going into the season, a lot of teams already have their lineup made up. I don't think the Dodgers do. I think they have an idea, but I think that spring training is going to have a lot to do with, what comes out on opening day. And man, you're going to see guys have a lot of fun. You're going to see guys battle. You're going to see guys play hard. You're going to see a lot of high quality baseball because at the end of the day, these guys know that they're competing for that, for those 9 spots that they get on opening day, whenever that day may be. It's got me really excited.
And that's just the position player side. Again, you have 5 rookie starting pitchers and Bobby Miller, Ryan Pepio, Gavin Stone, who I'm going to talk to tomorrow. Very excited about that. Andre Jackson and Michael Grove, who are all just chomping at the bit to start. Then you got guys behind them that, and you got guys like Mark Washington and Nick Robertson and Aaron Oceanbine, Justin Hagenman and Shelby Miller. And man, the battles on this team are going to be epic. So, hey, fans, just a reminder, if you like this video, if you like this kind of content, go ahead and click that like button, leave a comment, tell all your friends about Dodgers Dogs so Dodgers Dogs can keep growing and Chase and I can keep providing you content like this in the future. As always, Dodgers fans, thanks for tuning in and go Dodgers.